How do you like that title? How to create original artwork by developing your own reference materials, layout, and design. I promise you the presentation will be shorter than the title. And with a title like that, you're probably expecting me to come up with some magical secret on creativity. Give you something you've never heard before, never known before, something to kickstart your creativity. Well, hold your breath. I really have nothing revolutionary to tell you. I just needed the ride out here, and I'm glad you joined me. But I'm going to be talking about just a simple concept, and sometimes the simplest of concepts are what get the job done. Let's talk about creativity. There's a subjective and elusive element. What is creative to one person is not to another person. And I'm going to say something that is not going to make very many friends, but I'm going to be honest with you guys because we're best friends and you can take this. After 32 years of going through the exhibitions, I find that there's only one thing mostly missing, not missing all the time, but mostly missing, and that's creativity. I see a lot of skillful work rendered beautifully, but there's that lack. Roam the halls one by one as we do in a gallery, and we look at each piece and we go, oh, bowl of fruit. Nice. Fruit on the counter. I like that one. Good lighting. There's a banana. Captured that beautifully, beautifully. And a bird. I like the bird and the baby holding a bird. And then there's the dog and floating head. And then, oh my God. Vignettes, they drive me crazy. Don't you want to do a background or have a story? And then you walk along and you go, oh, rhinoceros with a butterfly on his nose on a raft board. Wait a minute. What's that? What's the story behind that? And the first thing you do is you look for the title. What is this person trying to tell me? What's the story? This is too good. Well, to make it worse, the piece is called Untitled. Oh, that drives me nuts. That's just not fair. That's just not playing fair. So creativity is one of these things that, you can be creative with the use of your colors. You can be creative with lighting. I mean, there's certain ways to be creative. There's all kinds of ways to take an ordinary subject and make it extraordinary. And that's what you have to do if you want to get the jurors' attention. You can't just be another banana in the bunch. So you think about creativity, and it's like you can't sit there during the day and go, today I'm going to do something creative. It's like, today I'm going to be funny. Pressure? No, you can't do it. It doesn't come like that. It just doesn't come like that. It comes up from within. And some of us have innate talents to think out of the box and be creative. And some of us, we have to work a little bit harder. And we think what you can limit yourself to think, well, I have intent. I'm capturing light. I'm capturing creative colors and everything. You're right. But it goes beyond that. It goes beyond that into what do you want to say? I don't know how much you want to say with a bowl of tomatoes. When you do a bowl of tomatoes, I am very sorry about this, but what we are talking about is a skill level to render a realistic object. But unless you're an Italian cook, that bowl of tomatoes does mean nothing to anyone else. It's a bowl of tomatoes. Don't you love it when people look at your work and they say, what made you think of that? Oh, no. Because that's a creative process. The creative process is a labyrinth of thoughts. It takes you here and there, and you think this is good, and all of a sudden you go, oh my God, what if I put this here? What if I do that? So it's not a straight shot to say, today I'm going to be creative. And sometimes when we have a set story, that can mess us up in terms of how we execute it. I think one of the most difficult things to do in art is the conceptual part of it. Getting started with the conceptual part of it. We find an exciting photograph and we copy it. I'm not going to talk about plagiarism. I'm not going to talk about copyright infringement. Just going to talk about creativity. the thing about copying somebody else's artwork, when we copy somebody else's artwork, every decision is made for you. All the colors, the lighting, the composition, every decision is made for you. Your job that you want to do by finding this wonderful photograph is to be able to copy it, just the way they have it. So now here's the part where people throw stones at me. When you do this, you are not the artist. You are a draftsman. You have technical skills in which to duplicate another person's image. So drawing is a skill. It's a trainable skill. And I don't know, it's like, okay, Ralph Lauren, Vera Wang, they make an outfit out of this bolt of fabric. There you are. It's a bolt of fabric. And then all of a sudden, they create this beautiful thing. Then a seamstress comes along, follows the pattern, and sews that dress. Good skills, but she's not the designer. And that's where we are. And unfortunately, emerging artists, a lot of the intermediate artists, and dare I say, a lot of the advanced artists within art groups do this. I've had students say, I'm not a photographer. I don't want to be a photographer. What? It's hard enough to just do this. And now you want me to learn f-stops and everything? No. That's not it. That's not the way to go. But I do understand the frustration. And how much easier is it to go on Pinterest and say, oh my God, look at that parrot. I love this parrot. And he's there with another bird, and here's this green and the lights, and that's what I'm going to do. Creativity goes beyond the skill level. Okay, so I'm here to talk about how you can create your own references, and we're going to do it with a very simple way. We're going to do it with something that you did when you were in grade school, and that's called a collage. Oh, that's fun. And they wanted me to do a demonstration, but I figured that's crazy. You really want to watch Vera go through and cut pictures and paste them down. You know how collages work. And we did it when we were younger, but now we're going to take it to a different level and try to make something creative out of the collages that we're going to put together. It's kind of a cop-out from not doing somebody else's photographs, but what you are using is bits and pieces of other people's work to create your own. I'll show you that. So collage is a rather general term. We apply that to a lot of different things. So the good thing about collages is that now you're beyond the skill level. You're not just sitting there copying this thing now. Now all of a sudden you have to think about the composition. Where are these pieces going to go? How are they going to interact to each other? What's your focal point? Where am I going to do? Where am I going to put my focal point? Does it go here? Does it go there? What is it? You want to have enough value contrast to have your work interesting and dramatic. You have to think about each color, texture, and temperature that you work with and how to make a unified painting. And most important thing is that you are developing the content and intent of your work. Nobody else. The story you're putting together is yours. So there's all kinds of general things that people call a collage. So let me boil them down to some specifics of definitions of various collages. Okay, so one of the collages that we do, this in particular is called an assemblage. And assemblage is just a three-dimensional piece of artwork or sculpture that's really, it's a construction of various materials that create an image or a pattern made with screws, nails, or it's welded together. I made this one, by the way, and I did, as you can see, I used nuts and bolts and computer parts and pipes, and I can't even think of all the things I used. I used spackling over it to give a texture, all kinds of different things. It's probably about I don't know, I'm going to say 30 by 20. It's big. My art supply store was a dumpster, a construction site, anywhere I could find bits and pieces and nail. Free art supplies. What a concept is that? Yeah. And let me tell you this, I had no idea with the first nail down of a nail or the glue. By the way, I used E6000 glue. I did not weld a thing. I don't know how to weld. But with the first thing I put down, it's like, okay, what goes around it? What do I add now? Oh, look at this is a vertical thing. This is a linear thing. This is a round thing. And you just built it up. I had no plan. There was no story in my head. And I built it up to where, to me, it looked like the aerial view over Louisiana after Ike. So I called it Windsong over Gulfport. So this one won third place in the Artist magazine, over 900 entries. I can no longer do assemblages because you need to have a whole bunch of storage room to collect rusted nuts and bolts and whatever, and to spread out and do that thing. So that's not in my future anymore, unless I work very small. Okay, another collage is called a mosaic. And here again, this is just it's a 2-dimensional image, and it's made with many pieces of either paper or tiles or pictures. This one was all made. This woman was constructed. This image of a woman was constructed with many pictures of people. And the difficult thing about doing this, here's the tricky part. I mean, they're cutting magazine pictures out, any printed materials they can get a hold of. They have to get the right value. So it's not just gluing it down, but they have to get all the right values to make it 3-dimensional. I don't think I have that patience. Okay, a montage. This gets confused a lot with the collage. It's pretty much a fine line going on. But a montage is really separate photographs that they're disconnected, but there's a theme going on. You could create a theme with them, and you form one picture of very many different pictures. It's kind of like a memory book, it's kind of like a memory board, and it's fun. Now, all of these things I'm showing you are in and of themselves artwork. They're finished artwork. So, okay, let's do this one. This is the one I'm interested in. Here's the collage. Now, a collage is all these different pieces glued together to form one cohesive picture. But what you're doing is you're going through bits and pieces. I mean, you're going through various pictures. You're cutting out bits and pieces of them, taking out this, taking out that, and forming your own story, your own idea with a collage. And this with the intent, I might add, to use it as a reference for your drawing. And when someone runs across something like this, they're bound to say, what the is she thinking about? So there's always that little fine line between the montage and the collage. So let me show it to you. Okay. So the montage is just a bunch of pictures glued down with the same theme, but the collage is developing your own picture, your own story, using printed materials, photographs, colored papers, whatever you want to use. The thing with this too is that when you start a collage, number one, you don't really need a story. A story is nice if you've got something, but let me tell you what having a story does. When you have a story now, you have a preconceived idea of what that story wants to be. I want a monkey climbing a mountain with a chipmunk on his back. Well, find those images, you know. So if you have a preconceived story, sometimes it gets in your way because you're searching for certain items. So sometimes you're just better off by finding one thing, one image that inspires you, that you really like, cutting that out and building around it. Use that as your catalyst. It may be the main thing, it may be your focus, but it may not. Because as you find more images, I'm going to tell you this, you have to think about this. You have to think about the composition. You have to think, why is this here? What are they doing? How does this connect to that? You know, what makes them work together? And the colors and the shapes and all of the other good stuff that go along with being creative. So as you put down your images, and you're going to collect a lot, you collect a lot, just like assemblages, you better have some space and storage to be cutting out papers because, I can't use this now, but I better save it because I'm going to use it sometime. So you're cutting out all these little things together. And as you lay them down and you're thinking of them and you're thinking of the process and how they relate to each other, your story is starting to develop. Intuitively, it's starting to develop. A story that you may not even thought of is now taking shape where you're saying, oh my gosh, if I put this and this is here, now it means something else than where I was in the direction that I was taking it. Okay, so what I'm really going to do is how do you start? Oh, I told you that. You don't need a story. You can begin with just an image that inspires you, and you let the images kickstart your imagination and you work around it. And all through this thing, I want you to think these two words. What if? What if I add this here? What if I do this? What if I do that? That's what scientists do. Scientists are very creative. It's always what if. There's a whole big thing here. Well, they go, well, what if I add something? What if I take something away? What if I create something new? I mean, even accountants are creative, but that's another story. All right, here's the first one. If you look at this, this is a collage that I did. It's 5 by 7 inches, 5 by 7 inches. You can see that I used 7 different sources to come up with this picture. You can also see, I think, on this one, maybe not so much on this one. Yeah. But the nice thing about collages, too, is that you don't have to be realistic. For all of us color pencil artists that love to go for 2 hours, you don't have to be traditional in it. And the images that you use do not have to be in ratio to the other images. I'm not worried about it. So that's the collage reference. This is the artwork that I did from it. And this is called I Had a Dream About You, 20 by 15. And I had everything in front of me to make it easy. I did all the hard work. I had the concept. So here's a sample of the both of them. Now, some of the elements in these were added after the painting because nothing is in concrete. And when I did the painting, I looked at it and said, well, there's a spot here. This doesn't make sense. I don't want this here. I've got to change it. Or I need a touch of blue over there instead of red. So I'm open to making some changes. And some of the background textures weren't exactly right for me. So I hand drew them, hand painted them, and did another interpretation of them. This collage, 7 by 5, I used 6 sources. That space at the bottom, that big space at the bottom, it was blank and didn't make any sense. It was too much. So I felt like I need to add something, and why not? Let's add a pear. I find pears to be rather poetic and dramatic. Hey, I had a pear and it fit. Leave me alone. This one had a story, and I don't normally tell people. I don't normally tell people my story. I'll have people used to come in my gallery if they see my artwork and they say, "What does this mean?" And they read the title, and they say, "What does this mean?" And I leave it to them. It's my story, but it's artwork. So make up your own story from my artwork. You don't have to know what I'm doing. So this one has six sources. I'll take it into the artwork. Oh, that yellow gold colored mat board. That's what I used as my backing on that. So that's my interpretation of that. And the title is Songs Unsung. It's about me and my 2 sisters growing up, where we didn't have the opportunity to go to college. We didn't have the chance to go to college. We never heard about college. We never talked to about college. And my parents came from Yugoslavia. We were born in the war in a German work camp. They came to America. And so their life was pretty much led by having to survive. So we didn't get dance lessons, or we didn't get to sing. We weren't on a stage. We didn't get to explore our talents. So to me, this was my expression of me and my 2 sisters, and some of the things that we were left out of, and perhaps couldn't enjoy. So another thing about creating collage is you're mad at somebody, you don't like somebody, you can do a pretty picture and they're not ever going to hell know about it, because it's your thing. So you can also add your emotions and your feelings into your paintings, which adds another depth to what you're doing. Okay, another collage here. It's a hand-colored background. I only use 3 sources out of this thing. Looks like more, but it's only 3 sources, and there's a lot of hand coloring in the background, scribbling. This is the artwork. And the title of this is Wings with Strings Attached. And this painting for me represents us coming to America. My mother, my father, and the three of us leaving a war-torn area and whatever, and being free to come to America. But even at that, there are always strings attached, even when you head out and there's joy to be found. That's a comparison of that to that. And you can see that as I go, I've got the fundamentals there, but as I go along, I do change a lot of the things because I'm not going to be. It's not going to be one of these things like my students always say, well, that's what the photograph has. Yeah, but it doesn't read well in an artwork. You have to know when to adjust that photograph and what works and what doesn't work in your artwork. So I make a lot of changes that my painting tells me to make. Okay, 6 sources were applied in this one. There's the piranha. And the title of this is Freudian Dream, Wish You Were Here. You got your tunnel, you got your cigar, that's all the explanation you need on that one. So there was a lot of detail in this one with those 6. And what I like about collage work too, I once did a 30 by 40 painting of colored pencil stubs. The most boring thing I ever did. The same shape. How am I going to put another? Do I need another yellow pencil here or a red one? Or boring. What I like about the collage things is that I've got all different kinds of items and textures and colors and things that keep me well amused. I've got inserts. I got a story within a story. All that wonderful stuff. And keep in mind, I'm sitting there with magazines and photographs, and I've got a ton of them. You can't imagine how many pictures I might have before I finally come down to what I'm actually going to use. Okay, eight sources on this one. I like to use something. That's when I know this is the layout that I'm going to use, and I'm Scotch taping it. But before I Scotch tape it, I'm working on another board and all these little pieces, and I'm using those. If anyone's a sewer, they have those T-pins. And I use those and I just stick those in there, or better yet, are the adhesive putty. You use that. You stick it until you're sure. Oh no, that doesn't work. This works better. So then you have the mobility, the flexibility of changing your work around. And then she turned to stone. I get a little emotional when I do my artwork. What's wrong with me? It's called good therapy. It's good therapy. Trust me. Here's the combination of the two. I had to make a lot of other decisions to it, fill in empty spaces where the vase is. If it was all black on the bottom, it wouldn't have worked out. So there's a lot of things I changed and did. What you have to be careful about when you do collages is that you have to remember that everything you add in your collage, you're going to have to draw. You have to color it. So when you think, oh man, this is so cool, I can put newspaper print behind that. Won't that look great? No, not if you want to do newspaper print in your drawing. That's not easy to do. So you have to remember you're going to have to render whatever's there. Here's another fun one. Father's Garden. Doesn't that sound joyful? Oh, I'm sorry about that. But it takes a different dimension if you can actually see that these are 5 by 7. And then what I do is at this time, when I did this, it was in the 90s. I was but a babe in the woods. Actually, I didn't have a computer. I didn't have a scanner. We weren't doing social media. I took it to a local, I was living in Seattle at the time. I took it to a local printer and had it blown up to the size I wanted it to draw. I had it blown it up in color and in black and white for the value scale to look at, and in color. And I traced it off. I wasn't a purist. And this is Father's Garden. Not much grew in it. The colors are all off on that one. Think about this. I'm not going to sit there and say, I'm going to do a picture about life with Dad. It wasn't it at all. I found that broken up moth, a picture of that broken up moth. I thought that's cool because that's how I roll. And so I got that. Sue hates when I do that. She likes triple things, not broken things. So I got them off and I put it down. I saw that chain. I knew I wanted to use it somehow. I'm making it sound simple, but there were a lot of things. And as I formed this thing, as I formed it, then all of a sudden it began to have a story. And then in each of these things, I have kind of like a signature thing of the drops, water drops, teardrops. I don't know what they are, but of the drops. And in my work, there is a lot of symbolism, a lot of symbolism. I'm not blatant about any of this stuff. You can't guess what I'm talking about, but I sure give you a clue when I give you a title. I mean, you can tell it's not a joyful picture, so the title kind of tells you that there's a story there. This is, I don't have the collage reference to show you. This is the final work, the finished piece. It's Act 3, A Comedy of Errors. I made it with the 7x5 collage. It's rather large. And let me just say that I've been married and 3 times and divorced 3 times. So no secrets in this picture. This one is, she dreamt she was a virgin. Here again, 5x7 thing. The little words on the bottom says mother knew best. I might as well just cut myself open and give you my spleen. Okay. She dreamt she wore a ribbon. There's another one. All pictures, all pictures. I saw the hand with the tie. No, it didn't have ties. I saw the hand. Whoops, sorry. I saw the hands. They were intriguing. And for those of you that like that kind of thing, I added fruit. Yay. And flowers just to keep me on. And there's a bird in that corner. I like birds. I like to draw birds. So that was it. This one was done by Teresa Morris. You should know Teresa. She's a CPSA member. She's a board member. And it won in the chapter show. She did this in my workshop. I had a collage workshop. We got a bunch of people together and we cut and pasted together. It was fun. And this is her rendition of her life in Hawaii. So she's got wallpaper in the background that she used and went through all kinds of Field and Stream magazine. And she went through all kinds of magazines to find all these various textures without any preconceived idea of what her message is going to be. And as she kept doing it, she kept thinking, this reminds me of Hawaii. And then she started working toward that end to do it. It's my friend Debbie. That's my friend Debbie. I'm showing Debbie's not only because they're superb, but because I've been talking to you about cutting and pasting everything. Well, we're in the 21st century. Guess what? You can do collages off any software program, Photoshop or whatever. And that's what I use now. I get into Photoshop and I use images that I find and it's faster, it's cleaner, it's easier to do it. So both of these images that Debbie started were made from online, were made digitally. I'm sorry. There were 9 digital references she used for Squirm, and she used 11 digital references that she blended together for Lemonidity. Yeah, and that's won awards too. But that's a big piece. That's a fairly big piece. Oh, there it is, 26 by 20, all colored pencil. Yay, yay, beautifully done. Okay, let's see what I want to show you now. Oh, yay. Okay. Oh, this is a good example. This is you know her, Sandy Eppert, CPSA chapter member. The difference here with Sandy's is that if you look at a reference material, that is really a montage. Separate pictures. It's a theme. Everything on the left side were the things that applied to her father. Everything on the right side were the things that applied to her mother. But she used a montage and did that work. Okay, now we're getting into people I don't know, but I'd saved some of their images. This woman did these collages using family photos, all family photos. So there's another source for you to think about. You can blackmail your family, go into the elbow. They're pretty congested. I mean, she's got a lot of information going on in there, and that's fine. You can have a lot of or as little. And you don't always have to have as many resources in one picture, like as I had. You can put 2 or 3 different things together and make a very spectacular drawing all of your own. The butterfly clock, where this is where the collage part comes in, where you are actually changing an image and making your own story. We know that woman doesn't have a clock on her head, it's a hat. So, and the tape measure, the same thing. She's using a lot of different elements to construct a different image. There again, 2 more. A lot of colored pencil work in there. Now, these people that I'm showing you the collages for, they did it as a piece of art in and of itself. They left it as a collage, and then they glazed over it and everything. And it's a saleable piece of art, and it is a piece of art, but it's still a very good example of what you can put together and then change into a color pencil painting or not. I'm just trying to give you different samples of different ways that people have thought. This is a whole big series that this guy does. I like this woman. That's her. Suzanne put her own face in there. She's the person in all of those. Our Lady of Constant Calorie Clothing. Do you have any questions about that picture? No. Our Lady of Designer Jeans. I mean, let's have a sense of humor while we do this. I love this. Very ambitious. That would be very ambitious to turn into a painting, but totally doable. Totally doable. And here, you don't need a lot of elements. Really, that background is just an old book cover. And then there's only like 3 more elements that she put on top of it to make this collage. And this is, once again, a montage. It has a theme, but it's just a bunch of elements. None of he hasn't changed the pictures. He just added a bunch of them. And then for you folks that are very traditionalist, I showed you a bunch of cutesy stuff and funny stuff, emotional stuff. Collage doesn't have to be that way. You want to do a landscape, you want to do tomatoes in a bowl, whatever you want to do, you can build your collage to do very representational pieces. So that's all about blue. This was for a landscape. This was a composition of various magazines. It was taken of Africa, Italy, Arizona to make up an imaginary landscape. You could put any kind of sky in there you wanted, thunder, whatever you wanted. So if you like doing landscapes, you could put together a collage of landscape. Okay, I love this one. Okay, this is Michelle Colin. I love this one. She did a portrait of herself. Ta-da! Self-portrait is a table. How creative is that? And I love these kind of portraits where you do the essence of yourself or the essence of a person without ever having to show their face. No, a judge is not going to ask who's that person. He's not going to ask. So she's got her broad, she's got the scissors and things that she uses in her life and likes in her life or dislikes in her life, and she made a still life out of them and a collage out of them, and that's what she did it. I have to say this. The essence of a bowl is the inside. Think about it. Okay, so we got all these pieces of paper all the way around. Now we got to start thinking about some of the elements and principles in art. And this book, I've been giving you, I know it doesn't sound like it, but I've really been giving you the Reader's Digest version of a lot of the stuff that's in the book. There's a method to this. You just don't slap down things. You have to think about why is it there? What does it do? How does it affect things that are around it? So these are some of the things, and I do this because it talks more about it in the booklet. And then if you don't know the rule of thirds or the golden rule, this is a simple version of it. And it boils down to this. Your focal point is never dead ass in the middle. And when I say never, I'm only kidding. Never and always are not art terms. In fact, sometimes you do it just to break the rule. But primarily and generally speaking, you want your focal point to be at any of the intersections of a picture. And then sometimes, especially if you're doing a floating dog head, where are you going to put it? Well, it's got to be smack dab. Well, it's better than your floating grandmother head. I mean, I just like vignettes just kind of drive me nuts. I don't. This is a proportional wheel, a proportional scale, and this, if you've never used it, will help you a lot. Yes, a godsend, especially when you're working with collage, because you're working with different pictures from different magazines, from different printed materials, and now you're putting them together. I didn't mind that the bird was bigger than anything else in the picture. I liked the way that looked. It made sense to me. It threw off the balance, and it was. But if you want things to be in proportion to each other, this is very easy to use, and it describes it, shows it in the book, that you can either enlarge or reduce an object by just turning this wheel around. I won't bore you with the details.
And they do have them available. Never seen one.
Yeah, this is my last thing to you, is that I give you permission to fail. I give you permission to try it out, not like it, it's not for me. And that quote, I can't remember who said it, failure is the foundation to creativity. If you think about it, failure is the foundation to creativity. If you never try anything and you don't fail, you also don't win, and you also don't learn anything. And if you works, you've got creativity. And sometimes your failures are the kickstart to what make you go to make it successful. So the thing to do is to do. And my motto to you is always do something, even if it's wrong. That's it. Possibilities are endless. Thank you, everybody.